All right.
Alrighty, folks, we have a brand new investor topic today. We have somebody that has yet to be on the channel, but hopefully will be a returning guest if I do my job correctly. The one and only Brian Davila, wealthy investor, man. How you doing?
Let's go. Excited to be on here. Excited to talk to you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Brian, do me a favor. The audience probably has seen you a lot because you have your
Mhm.
own amazing podcast and YouTube
Mhm.
channel. But just in case they haven't, who is
Yeah.
Brian Davila? What do you do? What's your story?
So, my name is Brian Davila. I am a 32-year-old real estate investor from Las Vegas. I have been a real estate agent. I have flipped houses. I have wholesaled houses. I own single family and multifamily property. I own Airbnbs. I co-own a company called Wealthy Investor with Ryan Pineda. And I'm a father. I'm a Christian. And I just broke 100 in golf. So got a bunch of stuff going
Oh,
for me.
breaking 100 in golf is a big deal. Ryan Pineda is
uh,
a
uh,
big golfer, so that's breaking 100 is a big deal. So
the
congratulations on
biggest
that.
deal. I saved
Yeah,
the best for last.
of all of that, it's
Yeah.
forget the units, forget being a father.
Yeah.
Golf,
I
breaking
broke
100.
100. Yeah.
Of course, folks, we're kidding. We're kidding. Brian, I actually want to go back in time because that resume at 32 is impressive. You have done a
Mhm.
lot, but
Yeah.
everybody's got to start somewhere. Where does
Yeah.
Brian's
100%.
story begin?
So originally, in the very beginning, I was born in Puerto Rico, um, back in the day,
Yeah.
1991. I moved to Las Vegas when I was 5. I
Okay.
moved to Las Vegas with my mom, and my mother had another child. So it was me and my sister. Grew up without a father. Um, in middle school, I started actually in elementary school, but really in middle school, I started understanding that school wasn't for me. I felt like I was wasting my time. I felt like I didn't understand why we were learning the names of the boats of people that came here 100 years ago or whatever the case may be, probably more than 100 years ago.
Yeah,
But yeah.
probably more than 100, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I didn't finish high school. So that's where I was going to. So I didn't finish high school because I was just like, dude, I think I had ADD or something like that. And I thought that, like I said, everything we were doing was just a waste of time. I didn't get it.
Yeah,
And I was
yeah.
watching my mother financially struggle at the time. And I'm like, why am I going to school? Like, I need to make money. So
Okay.
I started,
Respect.
yeah. So started hustling, doing stuff, and then got my first job at like 15. And then from like 15 to 25, I worked anywhere between 2 and 3 jobs at a time,
Okay.
always.
All right.
And then I found real estate when I was 25 and became a real estate agent for Berkshire Hathaway.
Okay. All right. Now, so let's talk about that 15 to 25 because that's
Hmm.
and obviously is an interesting point in your journey, but I think it's a lot for the audience. Now, you had jobs, right?
Yep,
W-2, right? You were selling
100%.
hours of your life at a time.
Oh yeah.
No
So
question,
two,
right?
three different companies at the same time. Always.
Always,
Minimum
right?
two
Oh,
to three. Yep.
gotcha, gotcha. Um, because I'm very interested in this topic.
Okay.
And when I look at Ryan, for example, he's an entrepreneur, born it through
Yep.
and through. It's who he was
100%.
meant to be. I look at myself, I was through and through an employee, right? Never, I still I don't get it. It's too risky, blah, blah, blah. But when I look at you,
Hmm.
it feels like you straddled the fence, but maybe it was just you were young, you didn't know any different. Because
Yeah.
again, 15 to 25. Do you feel like a natural born entrepreneur? Did you have to get uncomfortable to figure it out? Why don't you talk about, who is Brian? Are you an employee, an entrepreneur? What is it?
You know what? At the time, I was, let's say at 15, I was
Okay.
already doing side hustles,
Okay.
selling stuff, that I
Yeah.
shouldn't
You
have
were
been
flipping
selling.
stuff. Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
got it. Yeah. You were
I
buying
was
big bags and selling little bags.
Yeah. It was great. And
Ah, I gotcha.
so I was doing that, and then I also got a job. But when I got a job, I actually made more money. So I was like, oh, this is great. Like, I work 8 hours. If I get paid $5 an hour,
Yep.
I make 80 bucks a day or whatever. And
40,
then
but that's okay.
yeah, you get it. So
Yeah.
again, the high school thing.
Yeah.
Um so I started doing that, and then I was like, you know what? If I work two jobs, I can
Mm,
make double. And then at the same time of me working twice as much, I
right.
didn't spend money.
Exactly. You
So
were working. Yep.
I
Yep.
was working, but I was also extremely frugal. Like, I remember I would
Mm,
go to a gas station with a
yep.
friend, and maybe they bought a Gatorade that was $1. And I was like,
Yep.
well, if I make $5 an hour, that's about 10, 15 minutes of work. Like, that's
Yeah.
dumb, right? I'm not going to spend my money on that. And I went,
That's amazing.
yeah, and I actually saved up like $30,000 before I was even 18 years old because I was just so cheap. I didn't buy clothes, I didn't buy food, I didn't buy drinks. I literally just didn't spend money at all. I bought my first car in cash, I bought my second car in cash. I even till this day, I told you when you were on my podcast, I paid off my house.
Yep.
I've always been extremely frugal and extremely
Interesting.
money driven. But to the entrepreneur part, I've done both. Even when I
Right.
first started working with Ryan, I was a millionaire, but I was getting paid a salary by Wealthy Investor. So I was flipping
Mm,
houses independently, and then I was an employee of Wealthy Investor.
right.
Um, so I've done both.
Okay.
And so I think I had Brandon Turner on the podcast, and
Sure.
he said that two of the most addictive things are cocaine and a predictable paycheck. So like
Ah,
it
okay.
is
All right.
addicting to get paid every 2 weeks and know you're gonna get paid and there's no worry about losing money and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a
That's
long-winded
pretty.
answer.
No, I love it. I love it because I think there's a lot there. I want to push it one thing before I go back there, and that's what you talked about, the Gatorade. You don't know this, but I have a $99 course called Get Your Money Right. And one of the exercises in there is I do exactly what you did intuitively. I
Yeah.
take somebody's salary, I remove the taxes, I take all of their fixed expenses, I get to what's called discretionary income,
Hmm.
and then I take every purchase against that discretionary income. So if you have $1,000 in
Hmm.
discretionary income and you want to buy a $4,000 item, you got to work 4 months for that. What
Exactly.
you did intuitively as a kid,
Hmm.
I know adults that they go through that and their minds are blown.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, was that just innate? Did you see? I mean, where did that come from? That's just like a Gatorade cost 15 minutes of my life.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
I think honestly it came from my mother because my mom was a single mom, right? So when you're a young
Yep.
man and you're
Yep.
watching your single mom work and you're like, okay, well, she's paying the rent and I watched her financially struggle.
Sure.
I quickly, and I was the older brother. So
Okay. Right.
my little sister would say, "Oh, I want this, I want that. Like, can we go here? Can we go there?" And I started understanding. I'm like, "Oh, we can't do that. Mom
Mm,
doesn't have money."
right.
So I just quickly started understanding how important money can be, and I actually saw my mom go from making a lot of money. She was a cocktail waitress. So
Okay.
she worked at a casino when it opened or when it was popular. I
Mhm.
saw her go from making a good amount of money. We're going to Arby's, we're going to Sizzler, we're going to the movies,
Mhm.
to it fading away and then us financially struggling. So that witnessing that really gave me a perspective of like, hey, like I actually have to save money that, money doesn't grow on trees. Someone has to work and then you have to save it just in case bad things happen.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So let's go back to this entrepreneur versus employee because I this is my opinion. Again, please disagree if you do. I believe a lot of social media celebrates entrepreneurship,
Hmm.
encourages entrepreneurship. It's the secret to success, whatever you want to be.
Yeah.
And I don't think most people are cut
Hmm.
out to be entrepreneurs. I think it's a lot harder. There's a lot of risks,
Oh
owning
yeah.
payroll and all of that. That said, I do think W-2 employees have a path to financial freedom.
Hmm.
Just most feel trapped by it and they don't understand it's their choices, how they spend their money, how they skill up, how they invest.
Yeah.
Um, So what do you see a difference between entrepreneurs and W-2 employees potentially getting financial freedom, which seems to be a goal of a lot of people? Is one easier or harder, or do you have any thoughts on that?
Um, I think that it's always going to depend on the person, but
Mhm,
I think I think you could be financially free,
mhm.
uh, without having millions of dollars. So if
Agreed.
I were
Yep.
to take an entrepreneur that makes 50K and an employee that makes 50K, for me, I would rather be the entrepreneur and make
Okay.
50K
Okay.
because of the freedom. So that's why I ended up quitting those jobs when I was
Sure.
25 to be a realtor because I was tired of not having control over my time. And
Right.
to me, that's financial freedom when you could actually like control your time. You don't have to like be somewhere at an exact time
Hmm.
every 5 days out of the 7 days a week. And
Yep.
you don't have to surround yourself with people that you don't like and don't respect. So I've had managers where
Hmm.
they take their job way too serious and they treat you like garbage and there's no one to complain to. You kind of just have to take it.
Right.
And you know, I my the I had uh a pivot in my life, and I believe most people like what's stopping them is from making a hard pivot. But I had a pivot in my life where I was working somewhere. It was my son's first day of kindergarten, and I asked my manager if I can go to his
Mm.
first day of kindergarten, if I could take the day off, and he said
Sure.
no, I couldn't because um there was like people already off and we need coverage and all this crap. And just that moment when he told me no, I didn't know, but I was like, oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur because I don't want to be a slave to
Right.
my job for the next, I was 25, for the
Hmm.
next 40 years or 30 years, however long.
Yeah.
I'm not going to live that life.
Cool.
So
Okay.
if someone wants to be an employee, that's great. And that's great. But for me, I don't want to ever be an employee relying on a paycheck. I don't want my children to. I don't want if someone asks me for my opinion, I'm like, dude, like life is so short. For all we know, this is it. For all
Yeah.
we know, right? I believe in
Yep.
heaven, but for
Yeah.
for all we know, we're not going to have another go around in at Earth. So if you don't like your job,
Yeah.
then you need to do something about it. Do not sacrifice your life for a paycheck.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think for a lot of people, especially if you have a career versus a job, right? If you're
Yeah.
trained in something, a lot of those folks have the ability to. You've got to live below your mean, right? Getting wealthy. I think we talked about this on the podcast, right? It's
Hmm.
really three steps, right? Create disposable income, either increase
Yep.
your income or lower expenses, or both. Become
Hmm.
an elite investor at one thing, at
Hmm.
something. You don't have to
Yeah.
diversify in 1,700 different things. One thing's enough. And
Yeah.
then 10 years 10 years, right? So pretty
Yeah.
amazing. So now let's go to your journey. You're 25, you become an
Hmm.
entrepreneur, you work at Berkshire Hathaway. By my math, that's 2016.
Yes.
You're in Vegas.
Yep.
I got to tell you, you've had a pretty good run in Vegas from 2016 to let's call it at least 2022. Just kind
Yep.
of like just like that. Um,
100%.
so let's talk about
Felt
being
like
an
that, yeah.
agent. Yeah, yeah, it was yeah.
Mhm.
So talk about how was it? Did you just come
Yeah.
in and just balls to the wall and you sold 40 homes the first year or
Yeah, I
I,
actually did.
I, huh,
I did because
how
I had
funny.
all the so anyways, I become a realtor, right? And I
Yep.
became a realtor because I met an agent at a barbershop that I owned. I owned a barbershop when I was like
Hmm.
25 and
Oh
it
wow.
failed. It failed. I invested like 15K and it failed. And I remember I was sitting there just every day watching it fail. Like one barber left,
Hmm.
another barber left, another barber left. And I'm just like, oh boy, like it's crazy. Like we can't
Yeah.
make the rent.
Right.
The owner is showing up. Hey Brian, what's going on? Are you gonna pay? And
Yeah.
I met a guy there. Long story short, he was a real estate agent. And I was like, dude, how much do real estate agents make? And he's like, oh, they
Yeah.
make like 65K a year. I was like, damn, that's a lot of money. I was like, and you only have to work like one job? You're just a real estate agent?" And he was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah." I was like, "Dude, I'm working two jobs and I own a barbershop.
Yeah. And I'm
Like,
going backwards.
and I'm going backwards. Yeah, and I'm just failing miserably." So I got my real estate license. I was blessed to meet a guy named Craig Tan. Craig
Uh,
Tan was the first person I ever met that made a lot of money. Everyone that I've ever met, they were like less than 100 grand a year.
yeah.
Like,
Okay.
and I think 50 grand was just like, this guy's making a lot of money.
Okay. All right.
So I meet Craig. I hear
Yep.
about him in real estate school that he's like this broker, he's crushing it, he has a good looking team, he has an Audi. So I just show up to his office and I'm like, "Hey Craig, I found his office on Zillow. I
Sure.
walked into his office. Just seen him walking by. I walked up to him. I was like, "Hey Craig, like I want to work for you. My name is Brian. I'll do whatever you tell me to do. I don't have any real estate experience, but I will work super hard." And he was like, "All right, come back tomorrow, dressed in a suit, and let's do an interview." I was like, "Okay." I didn't have a suit. I
Yeah.
went
Okay.
I went
Yeah.
to Express, bought a suit,
Yep.
watched YouTube, learned how to tie a tie, and he hired me. And the first week I was there, I was kind of watching him, kind of watching what he was doing. And it came up like, all right, he sells about 150 homes a year himself. He has a
Wow.
team that sells, let's say, another 100 homes.
Okay.
And then he also owns like 30 rental properties paid off. Eh,
No.
Yeah,
Shout out Craig.
yeah,
Yeah.
shout out Craig. And that he didn't brag about it. We were just all sitting there asking him questions because that's what we would do. Just ask him questions. What should we do this? What should we do about that? And
Sure.
then I came to the realization, I was like, "Craig, like you get paid every day." And he was like, "Yeah, I do. I've never thought about that." And I was like, "Wow." Like I just didn't know there was
Yeah.
people like that in the world that made a lot of money. Because again, my mom was a cocktail waitress. I was the environment that I was around was not, "Oh, this person has a house, this person has this." It's like
Yeah.
very below the median
Sure.
way of living. So after I realized how wealthy Craig was, I was like, "Okay, Craig." I told him, I was like, "Craig, whatever you tell me to do, I will do because I want to be like you." And he's like, "All right, well, you gotta start just cold calling." I was like, "Okay, well, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna show up every day at 8 and I'm gonna cold call until 8 and I'm gonna call so much that I'm just gonna make everyone look like they're not working
Mm.
and I'm just gonna beat everyone, including you." Like in my mind, I'm like,
Yeah.
"I'm gonna beat you too. I'm gonna just work so hard that
I
there's
get you.
no way that I will not be successful." And I did that. And like you said, the first year I sold like 40 something homes, 43 homes, something like that.
Yeah.
And I made almost, I had bad splits at the time. So I was getting
Yeah.
paid
You
like
were.
half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I still
It's
made
okay.
over 100 grand my first year,
Yeah.
but
You were balling. You were 25.
I was rich. I feel I was richer.
Forget balling. I was
Yeah,
rich.
I was rich. I was going to clubs, getting a bottle of Sky vodka by myself. I was just like, this is
Yeah.
I blew it all.
Hey, everybody does that once.
Yeah, have you or no?
Oh yeah, I got stories. I got stories. Yeah. Um, I want people to hear what you just did
Mhm.
because I've met Graham Stephan once at Sean Cannell's birthday party.
Mm,
I just met him once. I'm trying to get him on the show because I want to go back to OG Graham Stephan, right? Graham Stephan's story is interesting to me, not because he has 4.7 million followers, but because what he did in the Great Recession, right? He
mm,
graduated high school, tried college, didn't work. He became an agent. It was a horrible time in Southern California. So he was told to lease space. That's how he started his journey, right? Was leasing. It's
mm-hmm,
not sexy, it's not high paying.
mm-hmm.
What your story is, you went to somebody who you deemed as a mentor.
Yep,
He told you what you do. You didn't question him.
yep,
You told yourself you're going to exceed all of his realistic and unrealistic expectations. You were going to beat him for heaven's sakes, which I'm sure he noticed eventually.
yeah,
And it freaking worked. There are
100%.
so many people, Brian, that ask me, how to do this thing and I tell them and they fucking argue with me.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I've
Yeah.
I've done it myself. I've helped hundreds of people become millionaires. I've helped several people retire already. And you're freaking arguing with me, you piece of shit. Go away. Leave me alone. I freaking hate that.
There you go. And
Yeah,
I've
it
and I've
fires me
done
up.
that. I've done that too with even Ryan. So whenever I deem someone worthy of taking advice from, I will do whatever they tell me to do, even
Without
if
question. You're like,
what
yes,
exactly. And that's I think the difference between me and everyone else where
everyone, Brian, everyone else.
yep. Even like I still see it today. Ryan will say, "Hey guys, like, I read the Bible and work out every day." And they're like, even me, sometimes I'll be like, "Ah, I don't want to do that." And then guess what? When I start doing that, I feel way better. And I could have
Sucking.
just, yeah, and I could have just did that instead of like doing this long circle of let me try to avoid
Yeah.
what he's telling me to do, find a different way.
Yeah, that
Oh,
works for
okay.
him. Yeah, it's just, yeah, it's here's the deal, folks. If you are lucky enough to interact with somebody who's worth 10 or 20 or 30 million bucks, or maybe is worth 10 times what you're worth, you ask them and they tell you, and then you argue or you go the long way around,
Yeah.
stop wasting each other's time.
Yep.
It's not helpful. So let's go back to this. You're 25, you make 100 G's, you ball out, you're having a good time, lots of
Yeah.
stories, I'm sure.
Yes. Oh yeah.
But
100%.
when did you go back and go to Craig, or maybe you found a different mentor at this point and said, "Well, I can make income, but I'm not getting wealthy." Because if you
Yeah.
make 100K, spend 100K, you haven't started the wealth journey. When was that
Yeah.
transition?
So that transition actually was like the first year because,
Okay.
like I said, I started making money. And again, I was surrounded by people that did not make money. So
Mhm.
when we went out, I'm paying for everyone.
Everybody,
I'm
yeah.
I'm
I've been there.
driving,
Yep.
I'm paying for everyone, I'm buying the food,
Yep.
I'm taking care of everyone.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so what happened was we were at Berkshire Hathaway, and then Craig actually started his own brokerage.
Okay.
So I had to get like a final 1099 or something from Berkshire Hathaway.
Okay.
And we left, let's just say in June or July or whatever. And
Sure.
then they said, here's your thing, good luck. And it said I made $70,000. And I was like, I made $70,000 this year? Like,
Yeah. Let me look at my
how?
bank account. There ain't
Yeah,
70 grand in there.
exactly. I was just like, there's no way. Like, I
Mm.
have less money than I had when I started. Like, there's
Uh,
no way I made $70,000. And then I went and looked, and I would have $1,000 nights where we go to the
yeah.
club, we gamble, we go get food. That's $1,000 a day right there. Just to,
Dude, a night.
yeah, I'm saying one day I would have that. We would call them
Yeah.
$1,000 days. We go to
Yeah.
the club,
Yeah.
spend
Yeah.
600, gamble, food, gas, Uber, and then it's gone. So then right there, I was like, okay, like I just blew 70 grand because I don't know where it went.
Mm.
And then
This is
and that
interesting. From the kid who thought a dollar Gatorade was 15 minutes to the 25-year-old who's
exactly.
got
Exactly.
it.
That just because I was just like, oh, like if I sell a house, I make
Yeah, yeah.
5 grand. Like that's so much money. There, I could just keep doing this. And I knew I was gonna make more. Like I
Mhm.
truly knew. I was like, bro, if
Yeah,
this is real estate, this is easy. I'm gonna do this forever.
yeah. Yeah,
And
you do the work and money. That's what you learn by following Craig's advice. You're doing the work, having a pipeline. It
yep,
works, right? It's
it
almost dependable.
it is. And
Yeah.
so that's why I didn't feel like entrepreneurship. I'm like, bro, this is easy. I just cold
It's
call
a
and
job, yeah.
if I get one deal a month, that's 60K. I'm great.
Yeah.
So that happened. I saw that I didn't save any money. And then
Okay.
at the time, 2016, my mom, during the 2008 or 2010 crash, she bought a house. It went down in value and she got a loan modification. And then I started digging into her finances and I realized that she was upside down in her house. So I was like, hey, mom, like, I don't know what this is because I was still new. I was like, it says you owe 330. Your house is worth 125. and you're saying you got like a variable interest rate. Like,
Mm,
I don't know what's going on, but I asked Craig and he thinks you should sell your house.
okay.
And of course, she didn't listen to me. And I was like, okay, well, now what I got to do is I have to buy her a house. So
Mm,
that way she'll actually sell this house
right.
because
Yep.
she's upside down. She's never going to own it. And then she was like financially struggling to pay the mortgage because it kept
Yeah.
going up because she had a variable interest
An
rate.
arm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so then I was like, okay, I got to start saving money. So then I started again, got very frugal,
Yeah.
started saving a bunch of money, and then once I was 2 years in real estate, and I filed my taxes, I went
Yep.
and bought a house, and
Nice.
I moved her into the house, and then
Dump that
sold,
one. Yeah.
and then dumped that other one. But that's kind of what got me back on track, where I was like, all right, like I'm making a lot of money, but I'm not even taking care of my mom, and that was like the original reason why I
Yeah.
was like always working. So I kind of like lost track. And it's
Yeah.
interesting because this year, 2023, I did the same thing. So
Ah, all right.
2023,
Let's talk about that.
yeah, 2023, I bought this $46,000 Rolex. I bought another two-tone Rolex. I bought a bunch of Gucci and Louis. I bought whatever you could think of, I bought.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
went out to eat like ridiculous, like no
Yeah.
holds bar, just,
Yeah.
and then I was doing reflecting of like, okay, what happened this year? And again, my bank account is actually less than what it was in 2022. I didn't hit my goals and I was just like, what happened? Like I was
Mm.
literally just looking at the black and white,
Yeah.
and that's what most people need to do is like, don't F your feelings. Look at
Yes.
what
Look at the
happened.
numbers.
Look at
Yes.
the numbers. And I
I
looked at the
I
numbers
agree.
and I have less in my bank account than I had last year. I didn't grow my rental portfolio. I didn't make as much money as I wanted to. And it's like, what happened? And it's like, I just lost discipline. I lost discipline.
Interesting.
I got wrapped up in like, what are they doing? What is this guy doing? This person on social
Yeah.
media has this. This person has that. Like I got this car. My wife, I let my wife go off the rails, and it's my fault. And again, it's just kind of like I go through these cycles where like first I am starving myself,
Right.
and then I get fat and lazy and undisciplined. So
Well,
that's kind of what
that
happened.
yeah, I think we should talk about this because I think there's a lot that you said in there, and we're recording this right at the end of the year, not knowing when people will watch this. This will be published today on the 20th of December. But I think this is a great time of year for people to look themselves in the mirror and also to look at themselves, theoretically in the financial mirror. Like, did the
Hmm.
year not go the way you wanted? Did you or did you not achieve your goals? Um, I think reflecting is great. Why don't we do that? When you think of 2023, other than acknowledging some frivolous spending and the fact your bank account is
Yeah,
lower today versus 12 months ago, what are some other things you think about in
yeah.
2023 when you look back?
So I actually wrote it down because
Oh,
I'm doing a
I like it.
podcast with Ryan after this, and I want to hear yours too
I
because
will.
I'm just gonna tell you all my garbage. So
Yeah.
this year, pod on the positive side, I
Mhm.
had another baby. So baby Jake, me and my wife had a baby. That was great.
Number
He's awesome.
two, three. What are we
Number
talking?
four,
Four, dude. Do I
four
got to draw you a
babies.
picture how that happens?
Yeah.
It's a
And
lot of
then
mouths to feed.
yeah, it is a lot. So we had our son.
Congrats.
We had an event called WealthCon, and
Yeah.
we had WealthCon in California for the first time. So that was
Oh,
fun, like taking it out
nice.
of Vegas and doing it in California. That was a lot of fun. I got baptized. I finally started taking my faith
I
more
saw that.
seriously.
Oh.
Whoops. There we go. Got to change the camera angle. But so I got baptized. I Where'd it go? I got baptized. I became a better leader. So I used to be very abrasive and very like straightforward, cut and dry. This is what it is. And I actually fixed that. And all of my team members, everyone has told me like, hey, you got way better as a leader, this,
Nice.
that, we look up to you. How did you do it? All this stuff. So I got a lot of positive feedback there. I forgave my mom, so I had some animosity towards my mom because of stuff that happened in my childhood. This year, after going to church, I was like, you know what? Like, it's it's not even her fault anymore. It's my fault. Like, I just got to get over it.
Yeah, that's a
Like me,
big deal. That weight is always there, and
yes.
letting it go, that's a big one.
Yeah, so I let that go. On the bad side, I had my worst year in real estate ever. Financially worst year, even from like the very beginning, because I ate losses in the beginning of the
Yeah.
year of
Mhm.
flips that I bought that after the interest rates rose,
Yep.
I lost. So
Yeah, Q1 was rough on flippers.
yeah, Q1 was terrible for sure. And so lost there. I lost focus. Like I said, I was focused on like social media and like growing the brand and like all these things that like didn't really actually net me anything.
Mm,
Um, I like my spending was terrible. My spending habits were
yeah.
ridiculous and stupid. Um, and yeah, that was pretty much my year.
Okay.
I did break 100 in golf,
That
so
we put that on the
that
list.
makes up for everything. That makes up for everything, so that's good. But
That's
besides
amazing.
that, that was my year. And I know it's weird because most of the time people are like, especially on social media, they're like, this was a great year. I did this, I did that, I did this. But this year, honestly, I still made like $300,000 net,
Mm,
which is like okay, but when you go from making like 1 million to 1.2 a
yeah.
year to
Yeah.
dropping so much, it's just like
Yeah, and then you drop 46K on a watch and all that
yeah,
other stuff goes
exactly.
it's
Yeah.
gone.
It goes quick. So
Yeah.
it is a little embarrassing, but I'm gonna just share it because I'm like, you know
Yeah.
what? I'm gonna freaking roast myself so next year I could actually like earn something to
Yeah,
brag about.
I got to tell you, one of the things that I feel that's great about my channel is I make a lot of calls, but I hold myself accountable. Actually, I actually had my team create a shirt that says swing and a miss because I don't
Oh,
mind admitting when I'm wrong. I think the fact that a lot of social media is all about the highlight reel and all the winning
yeah,
is terrible. When I'm wrong, I own it, right? Actually think making mistakes and being wrong is how you learn,
yeah,
right? And don't get it twisted. When I'm right, I will celebrate like anybody's business and rub people's faces in it, but I will also own the mistakes. And I think you've got to put them on blast. I think
yeah,
it makes you feel better, like, dumping the stuff you had from your mom in childhood. I think admitting your mistakes publicly, makes me feel good. And it shows people you're a real human being. You're not a freaking robot.
yeah,
Um, so
100%.
I think that's cool. So when I look at 2023, just to acknowledge you being vulnerable, I'll start with the good and then go to the bad. I took a couple of months off. We spent a month in Asia. We spent 3 weeks in Europe.
Hmm.
We're enjoying the fruits of our. We've been doing this 23 years now.
Hmm.
Um, so we did that. The channel hit its 50,000 sub mark. So we're throwing an event in Vegas. That's been a lot of fun to talk about. February 17th and 18th,
Oh,
President's Day
that's good.
weekend. Yeah, it's 5 years in the making, right?
Hmm.
Um, so there's a lot of good things. I did exit 2 flips in Q1 that were wildly profitable. It looks like we might be locking up 4 more here at the end, but
Oh,
nothing in
that's good.
between. Yeah. Buy when everybody's scared, is my strategy usually. Um, on the bad side, I'm as heaviest I've ever been, right?
Okay.
So I'm roughly 210. I usually like to run around at like 190, 192, something like that.
Hmm.
So I let that get away. I'm 51, so it's certainly not as easy as it used to be to maintain that. Some
Hmm.
bad eating habits. I have a sweet tooth, all of those things.
Hmm.
Um, the biggest regret or mistake I've made is again, this is just being fully vulnerable. I haven't been uncomfortable enough,
You're taking it
right?
easy a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, for example, right? People see what I do on YouTube, 6 videos a day, 12,000 videos, all of that, but it's easy. I got 12 millionaires that come back each week. We rack out 3 videos. I commit 15 hours a week to it. It's done.
Hmm.
I haven't opened up a new market. I haven't done, I've been enjoying the 20 years of sacrifice. So
Hmm.
something I'm doing next year, it's a goal of mine, is I'm going to run a marathon, which I've never,
Okay.
ever, ever done. I've never run more than a half. I've done 3 halves in my life. So I'm going to try that at 51 or 52, depending on when I schedule it. And then more importantly, and my audience knows this, I'm going to try to do another market, right? I know one rental at a time
Mm.
works. It's worked for me for 20 years in Fresno. I'm gonna try to do it in Vegas, right? Olivia and I
Oh,
bought a home.
Vegas?
Yeah, we bought a home in Henderson. Um, it was another great thing. We bought a home in July in Henderson. We're going to spend more than half the year in Vegas, and I'm going to try to buy 1 or 2 rentals in Vegas just to prove it works. So people are going to
S-
watch me learn a market and get
Single
uncomfortable.
single family or what type of
I
properties?
have no idea yet. I'm in the very beginning. I got to figure out what cash flows. Is it a single family? Is it 2 through 4s? Is it a 10 unit? Is it a condo? Is it a hotel condo thing down on the strip? I have no
Mhm.
idea. I am open to anything,
Mhm.
and people are going to watch me try to figure it out because I have no idea yet.
Why Vegas?
Because I live there. I might try self-management, right? Because the market I chose was 2.5 hours away. I never self-managed. I want to be able
Mhm.
to drive to them easier. It may not work out. I'm willing to admit that you do all the work and there's no cash flow. I won't buy, but I want to show people what I mean by learn your market, and we're going to try to document.
Got it. So there's typically five things that I focus on, right? There's friends, family, faith, fitness, and finances.
Oh, I like that.
Um,
5 Fs.
what
Okay.
what about your faith? Do you have faith, or what's your faith
Yeah, I
situation?
mean, I have what I call faith. It may not be what a lot of people do. I believe there's something there. I don't believe you have to have attendance to do
Hmm.
it. I always call it getting quiet or self-reflection.
Okay.
Is something I do relatively frequently, probably at least weekly. Um, because you talked about being ADHD. My mind goes 1,000 miles an hour sometimes,
Mhm.
and I have to stop it when it gets there, and I purposely get somewhere alone, probably semi-dark, little light, and I try to calm down or get quiet, and that's where I
Mm.
I put my faith. Yeah.
And how would you say your faith was in 2023?
I'm relatively consistent. Um, if I can continue at doing that weekly, it's
Hmm.
worked for me for a while. It really is a habit at this point, right? You do something for a decade, it becomes part of you. Typically done on Saturday. Saturday's a day I don't do anything. I have this saying every day is Saturday. But
Hmm.
actually on Saturday, I typically do that. So I think my faith, at least what I refer to as faith, is it works for me.
And how do you think you did with your friends and family?
Family horrible, really.
Really?
Oh well, I mean, again, compared to everyone else, right? My
Yeah.
my immediate family, Olivia, my daughter, great, right?
Hmm.
Something I did in 2020 this year, 2023, that I did on purpose is I've actually text my daughter Teresa more individually. I found
Mm.
myself in 21 and 22 always making it the group text, right?
Yeah.
Always mom and Teresa and I, just being
Yeah.
lazy. And I
Yeah.
was like, I want to have that one-way communication. So that started this year on purpose, consciously. So that worked. I feel great about it. It was a great thing to do. Not that I don't do the group chats when it's appropriate, but Teresa and I communicating one on one is up this year on purpose. We took the 2 months off.
Hmm.
Went to Asia and Europe. Olivia and I had a great time. Did what did everything we wanted. Um, she's the beauty about our relationship is I'm a morning person and she's an evening person. So we
Hmm.
always have our together time and our alone time. So that really works for us. And I'm up at 5 a.m. still without an alarm clock. It's crazy. People think that, but it works for us. So, but if you get outside of Olivia and Teresa, the only other person I even communicate with is my mom. Don't
Mm.
talk to my sister. Don't talk to my dad, aunts, uncles, none of that stuff. Um, and I'm okay with it, frankly.
Hmm.
So um, for most people, that would be unacceptable, but for me, it works.
Hmm. Yeah, I was like that too, with my mom and other people, and I've uh gotten better at reaching out and
Mm,
almost like with some family members, we'll say you kind of know what you're gonna get when you're with them, and it's annoying. Where
yeah,
before I was just like, I'm not gonna even put myself through it. And now
yeah,
I'm like, all right, like I get my mom's gonna complain. Like I know, I
Yeah.
already know, but it's
Right.
okay. I'm gonna just instead of getting upset about it, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
be like, "Yep, you're right. Joe
Yeah. You're
Biden
right.
this.
You're right.
He's the worst. I
He's
know.
the word.
I get
Yeah.
it. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
fine." So
Yeah.
I have got better this year about dealing with that stuff.
Yeah. 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 Family is family's an interesting one of the five F's because I have I mean, my mom would probably tell this story. At 13 years old, I started refusing to go to family get-togethers. Wouldn't go to Christmas. I mean, I just wouldn't go. I just wouldn't go. It was very clear in my family I was the least favorite person. And I'm
Oh,
like, why the fuck do I want to be in this environment where I'm the redheaded stepchild? So
yeah,
I just wouldn't show up. I wouldn't put myself through that. I didn't need their permission
yeah,
or even want it. So
yeah.
I haven't interacted with a cousin and aunt and an uncle in 30 years probably.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Just
wild.
yeah, it's just well, hey, you don't like me? That's okay. I don't like you either. We're all good.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I have no interest in picking that ball up. I'm totally okay with it. So
Okay. What, and you said you live in Las Vegas?
so I live in Mountain View currently. We're putting in a backyard to Vegas, which is supposed to be done in March, a pool and all that
Uh-huh.
fancy stuff.
Uh-huh.
So hopefully, yeah. So we bought a home in July where we've gone through permitting and all of that. We're tricking out a backyard, but hopefully by March.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, if you move out here, you should try out our church city light. It's
Okay.
freaking awesome. It's on the faith
I've seen a
side.
lot of people. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
there's a couple of people I follow that go to City Light. Obviously, Sean is there.
Oh yeah.
Brandon, photographer or videographer, yourself,
Neil.
Ryan. Yeah,
Yeah.
Neil. And there's a lot of people there. I may have to swing by and just see what all the hype's about.
It's great. It's great. I think community wise, it definitely fills my cup. A lot of
Mhm.
people that I've seen start to come, like, they like the word, they like the worship, and like community. I think
Yeah,
that's like a huge thing where, if you start, it's almost like, everyone says the millionaire thing. If you want to become a
yeah,
millionaire, hang out with five millionaires.
sure.
If you want to be more fulfilled,
Hmm.
hang out with people who are fulfilled. And like, there's been a lot of people
Agreed.
there that I didn't expect, but I've learned so much from on like how to be a better father, how to be a better husband, how to be just like a better person. Like just like there's levels
Yeah,
in real estate, I think there's
sure.
levels as just being a man. Like,
Yeah,
if you hang around a man that's freaking taking care of his wife the way he should, take care of his kids the way he should, take care of his fitness and everything the way they
mm,
should,
yeah.
it's inspirational and it helps you just kind of step your game up a little bit. So that's another
I,
thing that I've
I
I've
will.
got.
I will commit to you. I will swing by. I don't know what you call it, a session or
Yeah,
an
a
event, whatever.
service. Yeah.
Service. That's the word I was looking for. Service.
Brandon Turner came last Sunday. He
Oh
was
yeah,
here and I texted him. I was like, dude, you should come to church. He came.
yeah,
I'm like, this is wild. We have Brandon Turner here at church, but he actually goes to church. He's a
yeah,
faith guy.
yeah, yeah. I will. I will make that. I'm actually coming back the 10th of January through the 20th. So maybe
Okay.
we'll
We'll
find
save you a
something together.
spot.
There you go. There you go. Um, so let's talk about let's have some fun and look into the future, 2024.
Yeah,
Where do you
100%.
want to start? You want to start with you? You want to start with the business? You want to talk about general
Well,
economy? Which of those three?
well, so 2024 for me
Okay.
is I always have a theme going into the year.
Oh,
Always like I have like a mantra or a slogan that I follow.
all
For
right.
me, this
What do you
year
got?
is going to be the year of discipline for sure.
Ooh.
I've already like changed my phone back screen, so like it's serious. So
Yeah, I like it.
so simple things. I'm going to work out every day.
Okay.
I'm going to pray, worship, and read the Bible every day. I'm
Okay.
going to look for deals in relationships every day. And then I'm going to
I
make
like it.
sure my family and friends know I love them every day. Those four. That's it. Everything else doesn't matter. I'm going to focus on that. I'm not going to buy
Okay.
myself any more new
Stuff.
garbage stuff. No more stuff. I'm going to make $1 million flipping houses.
Okay.
I've already started aggressively buying because I am confident in the
Mhm.
uh market. Like I just feel confident. So I started
Sure.
aggressively buying flips again. I bought like 5 flips in the last 60 days. Um, I'm gonna double down on social media. I'm gonna do 3 podcasts a week. I'm gonna post at least 5 times on Instagram every single week, which are baby numbers compared to what you're doing. And that's it. I'm not gonna do any more side hustles or get rich quick or invest
Yeah.
in this thing or invest in that thing. I've done that, never pans out. So
Yeah.
that's this year for me is the year of discipline. I think it's going to be a great year for real
I like
estate.
that. I like that.
Um, so yeah, that's I'm going into this year very confident. Where the previous years, I was like, 2022, I was
Ooh.
like, this is going to be a tough year. Like
Yeah, 'cause November, December were rough, right? So going into that January it didn't feel great, I'm sure. I
100%.
like it. I think most of no, for me, right? I have two things I talk about endlessly: focus and daily discipline,
Oh, okay. Well, that's what I
right?
need.
Yeah, it's focus and daily discipline. What are you going to do, right? And so many people don't understand focus. And let me just put this out there. Focus is two things.
Mhm,
It's permission, obviously, to focus on whatever it is. That's only half the battle. What people miss, Brian, is focus is permission to ignore everything else.
mhm,
People don't get that. They get squirrels or shiny objects or butterflies or whatever you want to call it. And if you chase 6 rabbits, you're going to starve. Uh,
100%.
so the focus and discipline is awesome. It's everything I've done from selling tools at Sears at 13 to taking a product from 0 to 100 million. It's just who I am. Right? It is unbalanced.
Mhm.
It's just like, no,
100%.
I'm going to do this, and that means
Yes.
others don't happen. So I love that. I love that. Um, I agree with you. I think on the economy, or let's do real estate.
Yeah, let's talk about real
I
estate.
I think it is, and again, I've been in the game 20 some years. All real estate is local. Talk national numbers, but you do you in your market. I think you have to split single family from commercial. What is commercial? 5 units and above,
Mhm,
right? I think there is an gargantuan amount of pain coming to syndications, especially if they were done in the last 2 years with bridge debt, IO, cap rate sub 4. There's a lot of bad deals that got to get washed out, which means LPs are going to lose, GPs will lose, banks will take haircuts. I am actually excited about that because one thing I did 12 years ago is I had all these houses. I sold them at the peak in 1031 into multifamily. It's
okay.
basically why I'm retired, is because of that one move in '06. I think that's coming, but it's probably a year and a half out because the pain has to happen is just slower than we expect. So I'm focused on single family as well. I think the market is very clear. I think the market is so easy right now. My opinion,
Mhm,
you focus on the median and below.
okay.
You buy properties that do not pass FHA, VA inspections, so they're ugly, need work.
Okay.
And then you take those, you get a hell of a discount, and you remodel them into properties that are below the median and are FHA and VA.
Mhm,
Who got ignored in 2021 and 2022? FHA and VA buyers.
yeah.
Who dropped out of the market when rates went to 8%? First time buyers. Brian,
Mhm.
do you know when 6% mortgage rates feel good and when they feel bad? They feel bad when you remember 4. They feel
Mm,
great when you remember 8. And
100%.
I think we've seen peak rates. So again, if you're filling that need, and again, I talked earlier in the show, I'm right at the tail end of negotiating a 4 single family package deal. So roughly speaking, 150K a property, about 40K all in costs, repair, holding costs, lending, selling costs, all of that. They'll sell between 240 and 250. So buy for 6, in it for 8, sell for 1 million, roughly speaking,
Mhm,
all below the median, right? The median of my market's 400. We'll probably get out at 280 to 290, whatever it is.
mhm.
It's hard to lose with those kind of numbers. So I think there's plenty of opportunity in real estate if you focus where like I wouldn't buy a $2 million flip. You freaking kidding me? All right, it's worth 4 million bucks. You can
Yeah.
buy it for 2. I don't want that holding cost. I don't want that stroke. I don't want to only have one exit, right?
Yeah.
Worst case scenario in my 4 deals is I burr out and I have break even cash flow. It's not a
Yeah.
horrible outcome, right? I like multiple exits.
Why? Okay, so I have a question.
Yeah.
So if you said you're going to focus on single family, that's what you said, right?
Yeah. For the next year. Yep.
But if you see all this pain in the multifamily, why wouldn't you buy multifamily?
So I will absolutely buy them if the deals come.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just believe the fuse is lit. And having been through this cycle before, it always takes longer than people expect for the fuse to blow up or the whatever
Mm.
the firework. Because again, banks will work with they will work with the owners. They'll try to do workouts. They'll extend and pretend, and they'll
Yeah.
do all these things with these big loans. But eventually, the time comes and the seller needs to get out. And I just think that's a 2025 problem. If it happens early, I'm ready. I've stacked my cash for a year. I got plenty of capital, plenty of bank relationships. I can move. I just don't see it happening. If it happens early, great. I just don't see it.
What about like, so for me, right? I have 34 rentals right now, but I just don't make cash flow. Like I just don't make cash flow. After expenses, after CapEx, after all this nonsense, I just don't make cash flow. But for sure the appreciation's there because I bought a bunch of fourplexes in Vegas like 2 years ago. And every
Smart.
time I check, like every year they're going up 5 to 10%.
Yeah.
And and then the rest of my properties are in California. And they're appreciating. They've
Yep.
done great. Um,
Now, a
do you
quick question. Do they not cash flow because you did cash out refis or they never cash flow?
I just know like on paper it says I'm supposed to net 10K.
Okay.
That's what it's supposed to happen. But then like somebody moves out, I gotta
Yep.
rehab a property. Someone stops paying, I gotta pay for an eviction, and then I
Sure.
gotta pay to clear it. And then um I had a property flood. I had
Oh, yeah.
just all this random stuff just keeps
Yeah.
coming up.
Yeah.
And I just don't see it as like true stable income. Like I
Sure.
just I just
Yeah.
feel
So,
like money comes out to me, and then I got to put it back in. And then money comes out, and then it'll be
yeah.
good for a couple months, and then I got to put it back in. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just feel like I can't rely on that money at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. So again, I've been doing this 22 years. We had similar experience the first 10 years or so. But at some point, assuming you don't do cash out refis and just keep upping the debt, um, when you get rent increases, right? Inflation is real. Rents go up much more than expenses, and cash flow explodes, right? We net even in the worst of months. You know, I guess it'd be multiple four figures, and it pays for everything we do. All the stuff we do is from straight up cash flow. It does it
Yeah.
it does take time. It takes 8 to 10 years. It goes from a trickle to a little stream, and then eventually it
Yeah.
just breaks.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like I'm fine with it because I see the principal pay down. I'm just like, whatever. Like, I'm gonna flip
Yeah,
houses and make money, but it
yeah,
just bugs the crap out of me. So I'm debating if
sure.
I should take some of these properties that appreciated that don't make cash
Hmm.
flow and exchange them into like something in like Oklahoma City or someplace like that where it will appreciate a little bit,
Hmm.
but it cash flows. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's a reasonable strategy. I obviously love the 1031 exchange. It's how we went from 8 units to 80 units in 6 months, all with 1031 exchange, and our cash flow exploded. So I'm a big fan. I think I mean, you're well connected, so you've got a network that's better than most. You just got to make sure it's real cash flow and not spreadsheet cash flow. I've seen a
Yeah.
lot of people get burned by out of state investing.
Yeah.
But it can be done right. And again, you're a guy that has a network that's better than most, so I'm sure you can make it work and you'll be protected. But it's not a bad strategy. Absolutely not. Right? Cash
Mm.
flow. I believe in cash flow. I think betting on appreciation is gambling because I've seen people do that and go bankrupt.
But is
So
it betting? Because like I feel like Las Vegas, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like
yeah,
I don't know if you've looked into Las Vegas multifamily. I'm sure you
a little bit.
have,
Yep, a little bit.
but it seems like the supply is very low,
Oh yeah,
like
yeah,
extremely low. Like when I
yeah.
look at fourplexes, for example, I
It's
could pull up
nothing.
the MLS. There's like maybe 25.
Yeah.
that are like, and then those 25, that's people listing for 1.2 that will
Yeah.
never sell to like
Yeah.
the ghettoist of the ghetto.
Yeah.
So there's
List
not,
pricing and junk. Yeah. It's a wide
yeah,
range. Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but it's very minimal. So
Yeah.
that's why I did buy a bunch of fourplexes and I'm watching them appreciate and I'm like, this
Yeah.
is great. Like,
Yeah.
but I don't like them. And I don't know if this even matters or if I'm just in my own head. So that's why I need your coaching.
Yeah.
I don't like them because they're in bad areas.
Yep.
They're just like old, right?
Yep.
Because all the multifamilies in Vegas are in bad areas and are old. It's like
Yeah.
rare to get them in a good area.
Yeah. I know. I've driven a couple. Yeah.
Yeah, and the cash flow just isn't there.
Yeah. So one
So,
thing,
yeah.
this is what I'm doing, and I only can tell you what I'm doing. So I have some of that, right? When you do this for 20 years, you go through multiple cycles, you get some properties. So I am now looking to 1031 some of my duplexes and tries, which I'll call C and D areas, and get assets A and B. I personally am not going out of state. I have a team. I don't want to build another team, all of that stuff. But I have no problem selling something with a bunch of equity, 1031ing into an, A or B class property, right? You could go from a fourplex to a house, for example. You can do that because it's a like kind exchange. I think it's reasonable to consider. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, because I was like, I don't know if I'm just getting shiny object. This is another shiny object because
No.
I did the Airbnb thing. That thing was a complete
Yeah.
disaster.
Yep.
I did all the things and
Yeah.
I'm like, is this just like another thing that I'm gonna
No,
like try
I
to
I think
do?
I think upgrading your quality, especially if you let appreciation run, is a wise decision. You also
Okay.
reduce headaches and management and all of that. Well, Brian, this has been an amazing hour. If somebody wanted to get a hold of you or follow you, what should they do?
They can go to Wealthy Investor RE on YouTube or on Instagram, the Brian Davila.
Awesome, buddy. Thanks again.
All right, brother. Thank you for having me
Mhm.
on.